Aning kakan muyak mu tiu kipem yaman man tom bete todi. Aning kakan muyak mu seo tom bete todi. Aning kakan muyak mung koyom bete todi. I got te. I'll add that because that means I think.
How did we start? We started on Saturday.
Go back there for now, okay? Uh-oh. There's water coming from back there somehow on the floor. Oh yeah, it's all right here.
We all got together and got in Feather River College's van and headed for Mexico.
Well, it goes back. There's some stories that are before the creation of the world, and then finally everything came together like a fog, and in that fog there was a dream. Some kind of a thought. World Maker said he didn't know what was going on. I imagine in that instant he saw this whole world. And from there he said, "Hesadam Aite." Means I wonder what's going on here. And then Coyote said, you're very strong, very powerful to even be thinking that. And so they began to sing. One song that they sang was Hamondim, Maka, just like that. Hamondim, Maka. That means, where are you, my fog-covered mountains? Rivers and valleys, where are all of these things? They both sang and they both made this world. And from there then the animal people came in and they lived around and they began to set more patterns. But they were all saying into being, and so we say everything has a song. Each of these rocks, all of these mountains, these houses, each of us, all of these things has a song, and not just one song, but many, many, many songs. The ultimate goal, I guess, what we're moving toward is that one day we would wonder what's going on here. And we would wonder it with great strength. And then when we wonder what's going on here, next thing you know, maybe we will start a new world. We were all drawn from these songs, and so that's what we have the ability to do, to make new worlds.
We went on south, spent the night in Riverside, and the second day actually crossed the border into Mexico. Going through Tijuana, we saw a lot of poverty, people on the street that looked like maybe they were getting ready to try to cross the border into the United States. Then we went on down the coast.
Hanenno nia hennia henno. Hanenno nia hennia henno. Hanenno nia hennia henno. Hanenno nia
going down, we seemed to have a pretty good trip to a certain point, and trying to get things documented and whatnot, we ended up breaking down.
Me quería mañana llevarla temprano. Hablé con el mecánico ahorita que fuéramos por el aceite.
Like the van broke down, and all of a sudden, boom, we slowed down some. You know, we had time to sit down and kind of analyze a little bit of what was going on around us, thinking, you know what, this feels better now.
Oh, what these guys are saying is that we need to take all our stuff a kilometer or so right over there. We need to take everything, unload the salon there, the big room, we can sleep in there.
I thought maybe our logistical experts were stressed out, but as far as I was concerned, I knew we weren't going to get stuck there forever. And so, yeah, all of a sudden we had a chance to slow down, and I enjoyed it very much. I wouldn't have minded staying there an extra day, even when it comes right down to it. It might have been kind of fun to see the water running through the arroyo.
The what? So many different kinds of plants. It seems like they would be, that many that they'd have uses for. And try the elders remember.
He's saying if you don't pay the people, they won't teach it. ¿Y ustedes han pensado en tratar de organizarse para poder, de cierta manera, preservar el idioma y con todo eso, las tradiciones?
Sí.
I asked if they had thought about ways of trying to preserve the language and through that tradition. And he said yes.
I thought about their language, since that's something of particular interest to me, that they have 5 speakers, they're saying, of their language to this day, and they don't even know if they'll be able to save it. We looked at that book, and from my perspective, is that you cannot learn a language from a book. You have to learn it from a person. And so I really felt for that struggle of theirs, but at the same time, I'm coming from Genesee in my own homeland, where we have 12 speakers or 11, depending on the interpretation of who is a speaker. But as far as I know, 11 people who can really speak. So we always have the question, what are we going to do with our own language? And will we be able to save it? They think it's so important to save, but none of those people can speak their language. And so I have this question where I'm coming from in our homeland, where we're at in this chaos. Are we going to be able to save our own language? Do we have the strength within ourselves to save that language? And so I told them, well, maybe the language is meant to die. But at the same time, in my heart, I'm thinking, but I hope it never will.
How do you feel about what you saw? Kind of makes you realize how lucky we are that we live where we do. Mm-hmm. But it's like, they've given up. They're saying there's just no way. Instead of looking at, well, what can we do to change it? But they're not trying.
Do you think there's anything that you could say to them that would help them not give up?
I don't know.
That they could believe?
I don't know if I could. I don't know if they would listen to a woman. They'd be more liable to listen to Pharaoh or to Doug.
Isn't it usually the women, though, who are the ones that say don't give up?
Usually. I think we're tougher than they are. They give up too easy.
Is that mistletoe up there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what Ernesto was saying. With a lot of the trees. That's why the family's wanting to cut them.
I thought you might take a picture, because maybe one day I would want to make one of those. We hear all the stories about the quail traps that our people used to make, but here when we're down there, we got to see something that was very contemporary, and I enjoyed that aspect of the journey too, coming from our homeland. We have our contemporary ideas, and there's always this idea that other people put forward upon us that cultures are static, including Maidu and Kiliwa. But to see a quail trap made out of chicken wire and that it works, it works for them, and I say, well, maybe I want to make such a thing. Of course, I would never put it out in the woods since it's illegal, but but it was a thought,
Yeah, it was pretty neat because there was nothing in it earlier when we had looked at it. But then later on in the evening, after the sun had pretty much gone down, Luis, Felipe's son, came back with a dove.
Yeah.
It shocked me, and he gave it to Selena, and she petted it to the point where I think it finally got tired of being petted.
Sí.
What's nice is going to build a fire.
Yeah, maybe we should.
Why do you say no? You should say, oh, that sounds nice.
A lot of the similarities I saw was like the sunshade over the community area is like the ones that the Maidu used to make. I took some pictures of it because I thought, oh, that would be so neat to be able to show the Forest Service and tell them that that's what we want to do at the campground, at our barbecue area. We want to put up a sunshade like this. This is one of my nieces. She's doing a cradle board.
Este usaba para los niños.
bebé.
Sí,
My grandson.
su nieto.
When I first met them, it seemed like they had kind of a hopelessness there. But then as we got talking with them and we got visiting, I could see so many similarities. When Monica was trying to help protect the salmon where her tribe's from over on the Colorado River, and she talked about going to an international conference in New Zealand. And I thought, well, that was real nice because I go to all these meetings and trying to protect the salmon that used to come into our area and try to get them back some way.
The petroglyphs were a special spot where they don't just take anybody, they take people that they think are going to gain something from it. Hopefully we'll give them something back that is special to us as well. I felt honored in just knowing that they would do that for us,
Lorena, they're saying that what we're seeing here is
Diferentes partes, por
is
ejemplo,
written
acá arriba
song.
hay, pero están por acá. Están viendo para otro lado.
That upholds Sparrow's theory that everything has a song then. That every place, everything has a song.
In the beginning of the world,
En el principio, en el mundo,
the world was something like a fog.
el mundo era como la
Not, it
niebla.
wasn't a fog, it was like a fog.
No
It's very
era
important
niebla,
because
era,
in Maidu
era
the word
como la neblina.
So they began to sing a song, something like this. Hamondim, Maka, like that. That means, where are you, my fog-covered mountains?
Eso quiere
valleys,
decir,
rivers,
¿dónde están mis valles cubiertas de la neblina, mis montañas?
And so they sang it all into being, everything.
Así que por su canto todo llegó a nacer.
Hacemos nuestras
He's
propias
saying that we have our
cosas y vienen
own
otros y se las
things.
llevan, ¿va? En
And
lugar de que nosotros hagamos algo por
People
esto.
come and they take it
O sea,
away
viene otra
instead
gente
of
y
giving
roba
us the chance to do with
nuestra
these things what we want to do.
cultura, nuestra costumbre,
They rob
nuestro,
our culture.
bueno, todo lo que abarca lo que es
Everything-
ser un indígena de,
Everything
aquí
that it means to be an Indian
de Baja California,
from
entonces
Baja
sí.
California.
People were talking about how poor the Kiliwa were, and how they didn't have anything. Their houses are small and stuff, but to me, they're rich because they have this land. They're living on their land. They're harvesting off of their land. They're gathering off their land. They have their sights on their land. They have control of it. And we're still struggling to get our land back.
In some aspects, they're ahead of the Maidu Cultural Development Group and its stewardship because they've already found a viable source of income and they're effectively managing it and producing a product from it and selling it.
The Kiliwa, they have 26,000 hectares of land, and so they have everything they need except luxuries. They built 10 new houses, and they have goats, they have chickens, they have houses that the bank doesn't own. They have that land that they don't have to pay off because it's theirs. It's been theirs since forever. And that, to me, that's sustainability as far as the community goes. And they don't, one day maybe they'll be completely free of cash economy. I don't know. But wouldn't that be a luxury?
I think they're closer to it than us by
Yes.
a long ways. And I found it real neat that they decided to go to the mountains with us.
Hanenno nia hennia henno. Hanenno nia hennia henno. Hanenno nia hennia henno. Hanenno nia hennia henno. Hanenno nia hennia henno.
The mountain is now the site of the National Observatory. And so the road was built to the observatory in the 1970s. And that was the first time that access was open to the mountain. And it was opened in order to bring a large telescope there. And once the observatory was in place, then it was possible to extend roads into other places, and now those roads are being used for, among other things, for firefighting. You know, all of these things are tangled in a big knot, and the firefighting is a holdover from the example of Smokey the Bear in the United States. And so when the forest burns, it's very difficult to tell the local inhabitants down here in the lowlands that it's okay for the forest to burn. And so what happens is that people go out and try to put out the fires. And the ecological damage from putting out fires is much greater than any damage that the fire might do.
you won. You can't end the game that
she
way.
never showed me color.
Dice, él no es que él no ganó, es que tú nunca le mostraste.
Pero,
Maybe you
Pero
won
yo
and
miré
you're
los
being
de él.
polite, tell her.
Dice que a lo mejor tú ganaste, pero estás portándote muy bien para no hacerle sentir mal.
no. Lo que pasa es que vi primero yo su juego de él. Y cuando yo vi el mío, o sea, sabía que él me iba a ganar.
Okay, first she was looking at your play,
Por mí.
and then she saw that you had already won, so she was She says she doesn't have with her what is necessary to play, but she promises to send you. She'll get you some and send them to you.
Sí, para que tú comprendas el juego mío y tú yo comprenderé.
So that you will understand her game, and then she can understand your game.
Yes. Bueno. Yes. The more you play, the stronger you get.
¿Quieres ser fuerte?
Se necesita ser fuerte.
It's necessary to be. It's necessary, but he. Y si ustedes están jugando, ¿están ustedes haciendo todos nosotros más fuertes?
Sí.
So they're making us all stronger. You two playing together are making all of us stronger.
Es muy importante.
I want to be a clown, tell her.
Él dice que él quiere ser payaso. ¿Pero por qué?
¿Por qué?
It's more fun.
Más divertido.
¿Oh, sí?
Los payasos son muy tristes.
Ah, sí.
Es la apariencia.
But
Dice que los clowns, the happiness of a clown is nothing but appearance.
yes, and leaders are also muy tristes.
Dice que los líderes también son los muy tristes.
Por apariencia, a veces tienes que demostrar que eres fuerte. Sí.
To keep up
Aunque estés-
appearances, one has to show if one's a leader that you're very strong.
I would rather cry than keep a fake smile.
Que mantener una sonrisa falsa.
A veces se ganan las luchas.
But sometimes with a fake smile, you can win Indian rights with a fake smile. If
Posición. Sí.
That's the way to win for Indian people, is using whatever you need to use.
And
Sobre
that's
todo,
what the white people
ante el
do.
gobierno, tienes que mantener eso.
Especially in front of the government, one has to maintain this front of being sure.
Por eso dices, "Ay, así. Pero el gobierno, no, sí, todo está bien. No.
With the government, you say yes, no, everything's fine.
Haven't I tried that already?
He says, trate eso.
Sí,
And then what do you win?
Y luego, ¿qué ganas finalmente? Pregunta.
The chance to be more fake?
¿Qué ganas finalmente? La oportunidad de seguir en una vida más o menos falsa.
no,
You think
cuando tú luchas por tu gente,
When you fight for your people,
es tu satisfacción personal la que sale ganando.
you are winning only your own satisfaction, just that you're fighting for your people.
When he said, what do you win? You're winning a future for your children, your grandchildren.
Dice que
That's what
estás
you're winning.
ganando el futuro para sus niños, sus nietos. Eso es lo que estás ganando.
Sí.
but they have people.
Dice que ustedes tienen la gente, ustedes tienen personas.
And I can learn all the dances,
Y yo puedo aprender todos los bailes,
all the songs,
todas las canciones,
every story,
cada cuento.
and I end up with no people.
Y él dice que finalmente él queda con nadie. Ustedes todavía tienen alguien, él tiene nadie.
Sí,
All
nos tienes a
Americanos.
nosotros también.
Y que, what are you saying?
And they act just like white people.
Dice que ustedes tienen su gente que se portan como Kiliwa. Dice que su gente se porta como gringos.
And that's real life.
Y su vida verdadera para su gente es portarse como gringos.
So I stand here.
Pero el hecho de que tú te portes como indiano
But the fact that you're behaving like an Indian,
es un principio.
that's the beginning.
Es es un principio y ya hay una persona
That's a beginning, and now there's one person.
que pueden ser más. Como
And there
está
will be
compañeros
more, like there's Lorena here, like there's Doug. That's a beginning.
para
She doesn't
ampliar.
know what me and I were talking about. It's not real.
I didn't hear that. Phil.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't talk.
You should talk, it's good.
No.
Dice, tal vez no debo hablar.
Now,
Si va a ser ahora.
me, I'm just a young man.
Yo soy joven, no más un hombre joven.
And I want to be having fun.
Y quiero estar divirtiéndome.
And just living, you know?
Y no más vivir.
But somehow
Pero de alguna manera
I have to be an elder.
necesito ser uno de los ancianos.
And I can speak our language.
Y yo puedo hablar nuestro idioma.
I know our stories
Yo conozco nuestros cuentos.
and our songs.
Yo conozco nuestros cantos.
Vamos sacred.
Yo sé los bailes.
And I think my elders hate me.
Y pienso que mis propios ancianos me odian
Because I know more than them.
porque yo sé más que ellos.
So I have no elders.
Así que yo no tengo ningunos ancianos.
And then I look like a white man.
Luego me veo como un gringo.
So that gives them twice as much ammo.
Así que les da a ellos doble razón para odiarme.
And everybody else I meet. And everybody else I meet.
Y a todo el mundo que me encuentro.
They want me to prove,
Todo el mundo quiere que yo compruebe
but I just want to live.
que yo hago algo, pero yo nomás quiero vivir.
And it's that simple.
Así está.
Entonces, ¿qué va?
¿Qué vamos a hacer?
Dejar a ellos ahí con Elías.
Con un cuartito,
Espera.
o sea,
Okay? You're in charge of the phone.
Ok. Oye, él dice que bailanos.
Yo voy con ustedes, sí.
ya lo tenemos.
Bueno, que tengan muy buen viaje.
Ok, gracias.
Gracias.
He said that they're going to send a helicopter if we're not out by tomorrow night.
No, sí, sí, la van a vuelta para ahí.
Took my self-evaluation. I didn't have time to see this. ¿Quién está en su carro? What is a retén? We were supposed to meet them at the retén. ¿Qué es un retén?
Ahí están los soldados.
Ahí estuvieron esperándonos.
Hay que se vinieron muy recios porque ya les habían esperado y no te lo pasamos, ¿no?
Entonces, hasta ahora todo está bien.
Saludos a la familia.
Dice Jairo, saludos a la familia.
Bueno.
It was real interesting going up the mountain as we went from the desert up through the sagebrush, and first there was these bigger shrubs and then little trees and then little bigger type trees. Till finally way up high there were the pine trees and the cedar and all the conifers, that we're used to. And so it was almost like oh, we went home because it looks so similar to a lot of what we have.
Some of the birds that we heard down there too. We heard the flicker bird. I heard the flicker bird. They had mountain quail.
You know, when I went there, I kind of had the feeling we were going to see just a few shrubs and things like that, but it was a pretty diverse forest. I really was excited to see how well it was actually doing. Some of the ecosystems I saw were really healthy, and it was, you know, the plants were vibrant with color. For me, that was pretty exciting.
Puro llano. Puro medio.
Deja una mancha en la roca, ¿no? Hay que preguntar.
Ahorita preguntamos a la muchacha.
¿Cuál?
A la que nos recibió.
I think that night that we had up there, you know, when we had the fire and everybody was around the fire eating, it was a good chance to talk. And it was a good chance for the Kiliwa to talk with the Condor people. The Condor people said, we've been wanting to meet with you, you know, are there any old stories about the condors? And Elias said, yes, you know, there was condors flying as late as 1940. There was condors around in this area. Ernesto explained the condor program, how there was just a few left in the wild and they captured them, took them in. There was, 6 or 7? And they took them in, and now there's 200, and they're releasing them back into the wild. And it was interesting for them to tell us about how they raised the chicks. They used a hand that looks like the mother's head to feed them. And it kind of made me think of the similarities, you know, of here we are struggling, you know, for our identity. The Kiliwa are struggling. Here the condors are struggling too. Our trees, our forests are struggling. How everybody struggles to just have their place in this world. In the morning, because it had rained so hard, the tents were wet, our clothes were wet, people were cold. And then Juan, the person in charge of the Condor camp, all of a sudden, because it was so cold, he says, it's going to start snowing soon, you need to get out of here now.
Holy cow.
And on the way out, not too far from the camp, but quarter mile, here's this big tree across the road that had fallen in the night with the high winds.
The tree fell over the road. Does Juan have a chainsaw?
Yes, he does.
When that tree was down, they were talking about bringing in a chainsaw, and I thought, wow, this is something else now. It must be a pretty big tree. But then we looked out, and here's the Kiliwa pulling branches and sticks and pieces of tree out of the way so we could get by.
Okay, let's everybody get out. Come on, let's go.
And then we all jumped out and helped push the van.
Estaba en uno.
Go fast.
Okay, vámonos.
Dale, dale.
Why didn't we borrow a van that the heater and defroster worked in? Actually, I think we're going to be climbing again.
There's a lot of people seem to be interested in saving the different types of plants, the different types of birds, because it's easy to look at them and to see them. What's less easy to see, what's less easy to grasp is something that we have to put into our minds. That's what we're losing as we lose the native people, as we lose languages throughout the world, is we're losing the ability for our mind to have unlimited potential. When we no longer have the ability to access those patterns of thought, those ways of speaking, those ways of ordering the world that come with those languages and those cultures.
¿Estás hablando chino?
We're trying to do some
But in fact, the beauty of Maidu, or knowing a different language, I think, is the ability to find a new way to think, the ability to structure thoughts in new ways that kind of make you think, well, that's amazing, or to say, now I'll never be the same because I've seen a bigger world.
Son 20 pesos por la foto. Y ya por la tona son 30.
Copy. Give us some condor food if you can.
Well, I'll recommend it to some people.
No, it's cold right now.
It's kind of fresh.
You got credit, Tim.
Time to go shopping.
One day, I was feeling down. You start looking around, you think, well, what's going on in this world ultimately? Can any of us survive, whoever is close to the earth? Because the earth itself is dying. And so I got a chance to talk with Monica, and it turned out that her tribe plays a similar game to us. We play gambling, Hamondim with bones is one type of gambling. It also turns out they do the same thing, they call it piñón. And so it was exciting. Maybe they played a little bit differently, but I was able to pull out my bones, and that built a little bit of a rapport between us.
Es el juego tradicional de nosotros, de los cucap.
She's a gambler. We got our game.
And this is a sacred game, and so to be able to see that this sacred game crosses borders makes it all the more sacred.
How did we start?
Song is powerful. Song affects the world around us in very real ways, just like thought, believing in the power of thought, because the first thing, this world was made from thought. And then thought became song. World Maker and Coyote, they sang everything around us, every one of these things, they sang it into being, and so everything around us has a thought and a song. And when we access those, then our potential becomes truly unlimited. And that is power. Okay, your turn to sing.